think that motherboard's finally showing up.
Hey, Mr. Cat!
Alright guys, so apparently Amazon or eBay or whatever is using children to deliver motherboards now, so just keep that in mind. But we do have another non-tariffed motherboard. This is a very special board. This is a Gaming Assist Esports Machinist X99 motherboard. This is in the white edition. This is pretty unusual. The other color that I showed in the last video was black and orange, like a Halloween one, and I'll throw that down below. That's the better deal. This one unfortunately is about $40, so it's a little bit more money for the white products as usual. All right guys, just to show you what's in the box, we have a very simple motherboard. Let me get this open. And this one actually came with a CMOS battery, which was kind of rare. A lot of these Chinese boards do not, which makes me wonder if this was used or not, but...
Editing self chiming in real quick. Something weird, the last two motherboards had Windows already activated on them.
Which is what this one's called. White edition, pretty nice looking for what it is anyway. And then a few people also asked in the last video, what's in the box? That's it guys, pretty boring. So what am I gonna do with this? I have an insane Ryzen 9 processor that I'm gonna stick in here. Let me show you. Just kidding, it's not a Ryzen 9 processor. It's a 18 core Xeon. And this is the E5 2699 V3, 18 cores, 36 thread CPU. Now I do gotta shout out one of the people who commented on the last video, because this is where I got the idea from. I'll throw your comment up on the screen. But moving on to the GPU, there were a lot of people not happy with my GPU selection on the last video, which was a 1660 Super or a 1660, depending on which video you watched. I had a few different Xeons. And as I'm getting into this Xeon stuff, I am heavily aware that these old high core count Xeons will bottleneck pretty much anything. That being said, we are going to use this 1080 Ti. Support is ending soon on the 10 series, guys, and that's another reason why I was choosing the 1660, is because you can actually get the 1660 and you're going to have support. 10 series is going to end support, and I can get into what that means later. It doesn't mean that your card stops working. It's very simple. It just means game day drivers will not be updated all the time. Sometimes they'll do like patches and stuff, but I'll get into that a little bit in the video. Let's go on to the rest of the parts. In the last video, we used this memory. Seemed to work pretty good. Only 16 gigs. This is King Bank 3200. We're going to be using a 512 gigabyte SSD. This is from King Spec, King Bank, King Spec. I will link all this down below. These are all very budget option, guys. We got a 1 terabyte hard drive, which I don't even know if I'm gonna use that. And because this is staying in my house for now, and I'm gonna be using it for my own personal use, I'm gonna throw in this 1000 watt GQ. Actually, you know what, guys? Let's just make it stupid. I'm gonna use this 1200 watt Thor and all these pretty cables, because why not? Alrighty, everybody, pay no attention to that retro PC back here with the Half-Life and XP. So what you're about to witness is probably going to be in the TLOU section of computer hardware, or yeah, it's pretty much gonna be like a bad porno flick. If you see how this, I mean, it's a big socket, you know, it's a big socket, but look at this chip. It actually extends past the socket design, so we're gonna be kind of like hanging over the edge. Again, guys, make sure the arrow is facing up on these. This is just for whatever reason, text is upside down, and we're gonna be very careful. I hate this bracket here. And yep, looks like it's in place. It's a very weird one because it slightly floats above the edge. This is not a normal feeling CPU installation because the CPU is giant. So pop this back down. And now we'll stick in the RAM, which we're only doing the 2 outer slots. And this is the King Bank. And these are kind of nice. They're silver color, which kind of matches the white aesthetic. And again, as I said in the last video, if you guys are watching from the last video, all X99 has reverse RAM. So like, for an example, this is keyed this direction here, and then on the other side, it's keyed the other way. So one side, and that did not feel that rewarding to snap in. Let me see if this one does any better. That one felt okay. There we go. All right, now I gotta find a cooler for this. I'm not sure what I have. Because I'm keeping this myself, I think I might use like a fancy AIO or something. Let me go look around. For the AIO, we're gonna use this Corsair 240. I don't know what model this is, some newer model. I don't pay attention to Corsair stuff that much anymore. But yeah, thank you, Min, for donating this to the channel.
So I haven't made this mistake in a while, but if you look closely at that M.2, it's actually an M.2 SATA SSD and not the NVMe SSD. And this motherboard requires an NVMe SSD. I completely forgot. I've made this mistake a couple times in the past, but it's been a while. So just be mindful when you're buying an SSD for this board.
Now, this is my favorite part of every video. It's applying the thermal paste. And the reason being is that undoubtedly, every single time, somebody will have something to say. And yes, that's right, I'm drawing a giant X.
For all you folks that love that big X.
I am quickly going to put on these fans instead of the Corsair fans because I really don't like those Corsair fans, and I don't have the hub. So I know some people will put their AIO on inside the PC case. I prefer to do it outside of the case because some cases don't have that cutout on the back. On this board, you have the socket mounted already, so like you don't need to actually like mount anything, kind of like some of the older, or some of the AMD stuff is like that as well. But yeah, this one, perfect, ready to go into the computer case. All right guys, as for the case, we're gonna be using this giant, old, fractal design case. This is one of those cases where they blocked off everything, so it has like that silent dampening foam on the top there. We're gonna have to take some of that out. Really boring case, but again, this is for me, so I don't really care. I do like RGB though, so we're gonna throw in some of these Okanos fans. I've used these a couple times in the past. I love them, they're on sale. Throw them down in the description below. No affiliation or anything, just cool fans. What are you doing? So in a recent video, people were pretty upset with me that I was using this Makita drill here to drill the motherboard down or mount the motherboard. And I can tell you the reason why I do that is because I've built hundreds of computers so far and I've never ever had a single jump of the screw head or problem. I'm not suggesting it. Obviously it's better to do it with a manual hand turning screwdriver. And yeah, so I'm gonna keep doing this until I one day screw something up and then learn my lesson. Now for the part that doesn't belong. And this time I'm actually going to aim the fan up. Why? Well, so we can see the actual readout here on the screen. Normally I would put the fan down, but this time I'm gonna put it up. This is my test bench PSU. That's why it's going in here. It's totally overkill, don't really care. Again, let's just hook it up. So this board's layout is pretty similar to pretty much every other board. You got your USB 3, your HD audio, which is all the way over here on the left. So we're gonna plug that in. USB 3, traditional USB. Of course, everyone's absolute favorite, which you get power switch up top here on the right. And this is even hard for me to do.
Actually, I was wrong. That connector is actually flipped, and the black is the power switch. If you look at this blurry mess of a picture I stole off the internet, you can see that the on-off is the red, which is why I was confused by the labeling on their connector. But just keep in mind that it's flipped.
So we got the 24 pin in, but because of the location of this 8 pin, this CPU 4+4, we actually got to remove this fan and figure out what to do because it's a little bit blocked off right here. I removed the fan, I saved you the video aspect, but it is plugged in. It is very tight. I don't love it, but we're just gonna have to deal with it for now. So obviously we have an explosion of cables from these fans again, but we're gonna clean it up real quick. I really don't love this right here, but I gotta remember that I'm actually probably gonna swap this PC case. So I'm not gonna go too crazy on the cable management if I have to swap it all out. So for now, we're gonna be using this 1080 Ti. It was already repasted, as you can see by this little mark here on the screw top. When my friend takes it back, I'm gonna be using the Titan. It's just my card versus his card, but we're doing a separate build with this in the future, so I'm gonna use this for now. So let's pop it in. All right guys, before we get into all the games, I did want to show you this. I had one person reach out to me asking about this board, one of my good subs, Trustif. Thanks for bringing this comment up because it is important. So online, it seems that these run at the PCiE 2.0 speed. According to most of the other manufacturers anyways, This particular board, we have the PCiE 16X 3.0. It's 16X 2.0, as you can see right here. So this is the speed. 2.0 is the actual speed that the chipset is providing. There weren't too many differences between the 2.0 and 3.0 when it comes to performance, according to old bar graphs. I don't know about new stuff, so we'd have to get a new X99 board and test that against this board. So I just wanted to put that out there real quick. Jumping into Cyberpunk. We have most of this stuff on low. I have this on 16, a couple mediums. Actually, some of these don't even go lower than medium. Oh, I guess they do. All right, so yeah, everything is on a mixture of low and medium. Now, if we jump back into the game, in the last video that I did, I was in the middle of Night City, and I saw a mixture of things going on. So I wanted to actually get out into a more open area, and we'll drive the car around a little bit. But you can see here that we're doing a little bit better when it comes to GPU usage. Again, I know this is a bottleneck. This 18-core processor, as you can tell over there in the corner, is totally going to be bottlenecking the system, but it's not doing too bad. I mean, we should be seeing a higher number off the 1080 Ti. Maybe if we turn up some of the settings, we'll get a better number, but let's drive around a little bit. All right, guys, now we're back at the city, and the city is going to be a little bit different. We're going to have a completely different experience here. Check out the percentage usage of the CPU all over the place. We're seeing, not only is it a pretty hot CPU because it's 18 cores, and this little 240 millimeter AIO is not doing that great of a job, but yeah, we're seeing quite a bit of CPU usage, all things considered, which is kind of cool to see, to be honest. Like, seeing randomly all the cores working is, and it's probably because of the 2.8 gigahertz clock speed that is making it suffer, but we're not doing too bad. I mean, we're still staying 60 FPS. You know, this is a 1080 Ti, so if you look at that 63% up there, there's definitely a bottleneck. There are some games that this won't happen with. For example, Doom Eternal, you'll get like 100% usage easily on the 1080 Ti, and the CPU will be working way less hard. But as you can see, yeah, looks like in the city we're doing about 70, 80 FPS, and in the outskirts we were getting about 100 FPS. So there's a pretty big difference there. There's like 30 FPS, and that was a hard stutter right there. I think that's mostly because of the map loading in, but so now we're at all medium as I'm running into the wall, and surprisingly the frame rate hasn't changed too much. If anything, it's gone up a little bit. Yeah, no, we're still seeing like 70 FPS roughly. GPU usage 60-70%. Yeah, let's jump on to the next game. All right, guys, this is a private match. Unfortunately, we do not have Afterburner running, but it is at the medium settings with MSA on 2, which is obviously not how you would play this game. Usually people play everything on the lowest, but we are getting about 115 FPS. This is CS2. Doesn't look amazing, but yeah. Oh, I'm getting killed. But yeah, so we're seeing about 100 FPS average on this game. This is a private match. Your matches will vary depending on if you're playing private or a public match, kind of like Call of Duty or any other shooter game. So dropping the settings down to the lowest setting, we're really not seeing any difference at all, which, oh my god, means that there's completely a CPU limitation here. This game is very heavily dependent on the CPU as well. You can have a pretty subpar GPU and get decent FPS if you have a good CPU in this game. So this isn't one of those games you're going to be getting 500 FPS with an 18-core Xeon in. All right, let's actually kill a bot. Jesus. What are my thoughts on this? Not the best. Probably get a Xeon that's like an 8-core that has a higher clock speed, because if you have a higher clock speed, you'll be able to get way more FPS in this game. All right, guys, we're in another private match again, just because this is the best way to get a solid example of how the map is going to run, not based on the server, because some people are going to have better frame rates based off of how the server is handling the game itself. So I know my internet at home is good, but I just want to give a better, understanding of how it's going to perform. So right off the gate, this feels much better than CSGO did for some reason, which is a little bit weird, because usually CSGO is lighter and easier to run. I haven't played CS in a long time. CS2 or whatever the new version is not something I play often. So yeah, back to this. Obviously, another massive kind of bottleneck thing going on here. You got 44% usage on the CPU and 67. It's kind of jumping around a little bit. Yeah, this is the other reason why I didn't want to play a real public match, because I can't look at the top numbers and pay attention at the same time. Suck at multitasking. Yeah, so we're also dropping down to 2.6 megahertz on the CPU instead of 2.8. That's mostly because of the temperature, I believe. Yeah, but I mean, this is playable, guys. If you wanted to play this game, you could play this on this 18-core CPU. Should you? No. Again, you should be looking for maybe like a Xeon that's an 8-core with a little bit of a higher clock speed. Sorry, guy. And yeah. But overall, I mean, like, say you wanted to use this as a server of some sort, and then occasionally you wanted to game on it, or like your friend came over and you're like, hey, we're gonna like do a LAN party or something, I don't know, and you want to play some games, you could do that. Is it good? No, look at all that frame time stuttering right there. Oh my god. What happens when we look up Skybox? 120, yeah. I mean, it is what it is, guys. This is not the best experience, but it's an 18-core slow CPU, you know? The guy in the pool got me. So this is The Last of Us. In honor of The Last of Us show being out, I just kind of wanted to jump back into the original and play it. No particular reason. I do not own the second Last of Us, but I still feel like that this game is pretty demanding. And the reason why I'm throwing demanding games at the system versus all the different free stuff like that runs really well, like Overwatch and all that stuff, is because if these can run, all of those will also be able to run. All right, guys, we are back, and it looks like we are getting a good 60 FPS. This looks pretty good to me. I'm in a weird spot in this game right now, and I also don't play this on mouse and keyboard too much, so we're just gonna kind of visually look at it. But yeah, we're getting 60 FPS. Let's see if we...
So I totally screwed this part up. Apparently I actually had VSync on. It's on a different page. If you're looking under the settings, it's on the display page. Normally other games are like this too. Sometimes they put them in the same area, but yeah, so I actually turned the VSync off, and for some reason the game actually runs a lot worse. I'm not really sure what's going on here, but if any of you guys know, let me know down in the comments.
All right, guys, jumping back into the game. I unfortunately had VSync on for a little bit there, but just figured out what was going on. So I'm in an area that is not too demanding, but we can get a good idea of how it's gonna run. And as you can see, frame time is a bit all over the place. Visually, it does look really decent. And let's go into this building over here. But as you can tell, we're getting a really choppy experience here. The frame rate's like kind of all over the place. The GPU is running higher than normal, but you can see how it's going between 65 to 97 to 78%. Like, that's not something you want. You want a nice smooth line. There probably is some ability to tune this up and make it run a little bit better. But as you can see, it's hitting this CPU in the weirdest way. Definitely doesn't feel that great either. I'll have to look more into this one, guys, but I don't think that this is a very good playable experience on the CPU, believe it or not. Maybe it's just how it's coded. If you look closely at the CPU, you can see 50-60% jumping in between, and then you have CPU 2 is 6%, CPU 4 is 4%, CPU 5 is 5%. It's like every other core is working. So this seems like probably the way it was programmed was to run better on a lower core count CPU. And like, again, guys, this is a very unusual situation. I'm mostly doing this for YouTube to test things and to see how, you know, this crazy CPU runs. And also, it's getting really hot in this room. By the way, this 18 core is like very hot. Tons of heat coming out of the top of this AIO. We're pulling almost 400 watts out of the wall too, which is pretty interesting. Not too bad. I guess you could run, yeah. Look at the frame time, God. So lastly, we got CineBench, and of course we got to do a CineBench run. This is a insane CPU, so let's see what we get for a score. All right, guys. This is the second time I did run this. This is a little bit of a lower score, probably because I got a bunch of things open and running, but we got 11,908. Usually this sits a little bit over 12,000, 12,100, 12,200. So one thing I gotta mention about these motherboards, you cannot overclock on them. A lot of these Xeons you can't overclock. You cannot run rebar. People were asking about that in the last video. So they are very limited. the situation that these really are for is if you have an older system that ends up having issues or something like that, the board dies, and you still have the CPU, and you want to bring some life back into the system. Now it's time to talk about the 10 series, this 1080 Ti, 1070, 1060s, all of those 10 series cards. Soon they are going to be basically on the unsupported list for drivers. What this means, in a nutshell, is that a new game comes out, let's say it's a new Call of Duty DLC or Modern Warfare 65,000, whatever comes out new that you want to play, is not going to get same day driver support and might not even get driver support in the future at all. That being said, just keep in mind, these cards, they're going to be really good price. This was $100, this 1080 Ti. That being said, going forward, you're better off with a 3060 or something like that if you're looking for budget stuff, because 12 gigs of RAM, and then you're gonna still have driver support, or at least a 20 series. 2080 Ti, you can find those for like $200 around here anyway. Yeah, so that's pretty much gonna do it for this video, guys. I'm gonna keep this for a while and mess around with it. I'll probably keep buying Xeons and doing some more Xeon related content if that's what you're into. So drop a like, subscribe, and I'll see you guys in another video. Bye.